All right, so today we're gonna go ahead and repot this lantana. It was originally a tree that was growing in my mom's garden. It was not intended to be a bonsai tree, but I fell in love with it and took it home, and I've had it for about 3 years, and it's really become quite a nice tree since that time. The reason that we're going to repot it is because the water no longer percolates into the soil. It is like super dense soil. I can, every spot I press here, there's no softness on the soil. It's just, it's super dense. So really that's preventing airflow from coming through. It's preventing the water from percolating and fully saturating the root ball. So we're gonna go ahead and repot it to make sure that it can get adequate airflow, and it's really gonna help this tree start to gain more vigor and grow nicely. So first thing I'm gonna do is just kind of get a chopstick. Ooh, I was gonna get a chopstick and go down the sides of the tree to see what type of space I had, but there's really no space in the side. So I'm gonna go ahead and this is actually a carpet knife. It's not a comma, but this carpet knife works really nicely. And I'm just gonna kind of dig into the sides of the pot a little bit. I want to be careful not to really, cut any major roots or anything like that. I also don't want to damage the side of the pot, because actually this potter passed away not too long ago. His name is JohnnyClayWorks, and I got his pot from a place called Mellowist that's in Costa Mesa, and it's just a really, really awesome pot. So I want to put this tree actually back in this pot because I really like how it goes. So now I'm going to go ahead and just cut off the wire that's tying the tree down. It's tied into the bottom of the pot here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that off. And I wanna see how loose this tree is in the pot. It is in there. Oh yeah, this is seriously in that pot. I'm actually gonna get a real comma. I realize with all the shohin trees that I have, I should have a smaller comma, but oh well. So, you can see, because it's difficult to come out of this pot, it's just root bound. This is definitely time to repot this tree. And this lantana has grown so vigorously that I could have repotted it last year, but I just I let it go a little longer than I should have. But here we are. Then I wouldn't be making this video for y'all today. It's my dog. You wanna come out, bud? You wanna come out? Okay. There you go. Are you going crazy? Come here. Come here. I wanted to get him on video and show you. Come here, bud. He does not care. He does not care about us. But there you are. Jordy, look at everybody. This is your time to shine. There you go. What a beautiful little guy. All right, there we go. He was very excited to come out here. He doesn't always want to come out here because he knows that he's super respectful of the trees. So he doesn't really, he doesn't run around back here. He doesn't pee on everything. Because he did it once. He peed back here and I was like, oh no. And so he just hasn't done it since because he's a very good boy. Well, there it is. There you have it, folks. Okay, so look how root bound this is. So you can actually see inside of there, that's the drainage screen that's stuck in there. We also have our old tie-down wires that are in there. I think I can just kind of yank them out. Do it from the top, just in case there's a knot in there. Yeah, that came out pretty nicely. But had I not had the comma, that would have been even more difficult to pull out. Let me get a... Hey buddy, what are you doing? Why are you here? There it is. There's one wire. And this is the other one. All right, there's no more wires left in here. So I'll go ahead and throw them in this pot. And we'll put it back over here. All right, the next step is to get this layer of soil and moss off the top. So very gently, I'm just using the side of this root rake, just kind of getting some of the moss off. I want to see if there's any nice roots that we can expose. But I'm going to get my chopstick now because I don't want to damage any of those roots. So I'm just digging out around the major roots that we have right here to see if there's anything else that we can expose to give this tree a little bit more width around the base, which creates that appearance of age. Buddy, what are you doing? This tree, when I got it, was nearly dead. My mom had it in a pot. It was growing in the California desert, and it was just, it was kind of neglected because she was away, and there were no leaves on it, but I was like, you know what? Why don't I take it home and see there's any life left in this thing? And there was. I took it home and I just immediately put it in a pot with organic soil. So I use cactus soil. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know I use EB Stone cactus soil, and it's got really good drainage, enough organic matter to where you know it'll feed the tree. But anyway, so I put it in a pot, and I'd say in like a month, there was tons of green on the top of the tree, and it just looked pretty awesome. It started to grow out. It actually used to have 1 branch, 2 branch, 3 branches, and so it was going out, had no real shape, so I cut it here and made this, you know, kind of just look like some dead wood. It looks pretty cool. I don't know if you can see that. And I had to like do a whole bunch of carving down here to make it look more natural, but it turned out really nice. I'm really happy with it. Okay, so, all right, I think I've gotten a lot of the stuff off the top, and I do want to scrape off these matted roots on the bottom. Let's see. This thing is like crazy. I'm actually going to use this rake. I tend not to use rakes too often because I don't want to break the roots, but there's a bunch of kind of dead roots on the sides here, so the rake is going to be just fine. A lot of these roots will be cut off because it's the roots on the sides and the base have kind of wound around the pot, and yeah, I don't want to hit the tip of that tree, break any branches off or anything. Okay, all right, now for the base. Let's go. This feels like spaghetti squash. Have you ever made spaghetti squash? This is exactly what it feels like. Yeah, and I'm really just not worried about these roots whatsoever. These trees are just so resilient. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cut a little bit of this off. These roots are amazingly fine. When I got it, it had these like kind of long snaky roots that went out really far, and I cut it back significantly. And I'd never had a Lantana bonsai. I grew up around a lot of Lantana when I was younger, but had never had a bonsai. And so I was like, you know what? We always would cut them back really hard every, what was it? I think we'd cut them back in the early spring, you know, sometimes in the summer, and they would always just bounce back like crazy. Like we would completely defoliate them. And so I knew they were really hardy species that would bounce back. So I'm not afraid to work with it right now. These roots are gonna be just fine. And I'm looking inside of here. I noticed that the root ball, kind of the base of the tree right here, was not getting as much water as, you know, the sides, which is a really good indicator that it was time to repot. I'm gonna go ahead and get out some of this old soil here. So you can see it on the video here. Loosen them up a little bit there. It's almost about good. It's maybe like kind of all we do. But the next step is gonna be to like just get the pot and see how much space we have between the sides of this root ball and the pot. Actually, let me take a little bit more out. So this root ball is just so hard that putting it back in the pot, we're gonna have the same issue. We're not gonna get as much water to percolate into the base of this tree, so I'm gonna take it back even further. This is an amazing root ball. And the fact that this grew like this in such a short time, you know, this is a stronger root ball than most of my trees that I've been growing for many, many years. But the thing just took off. It was like growing out of the pot. You could see the roots coming through. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Okay, let's get the pot again. Oh man, I wish I knew which side was the front again. So I'm looking at this pot going, all right, which way was it going before? But maybe we'll pick a new front. So I might take a little bit more off the sides. Yeah, which was the front of this pot? Might have been this. I'm trying to find something that's kind of unique and asymmetrical. Ooh, I think I like this front actually. I think that could be it. But it's all really unique. It's really pretty. There's a lot of sparkles in the pot. It kind of looks like a granite, like if you were to see granite in nature. That's what this pot reminds me of. It's kind of this like opalescent stuff on the sides. Okay, I'm gonna use the rake again on the sides because the root ball is just so freaking hard. I'm just gonna do a little bit more. Again, I'm not concerned about how this tree is gonna respond to this action. This tree just wants to grow. It wants to bust out of this pot. The only other tree that's grown this vigorously is my Pohutakawa, which is I think it's also called a New Zealand Christmas tree. And that thing just grew like crazy. Within like 3 months, the roots were already growing out of the top of the pot. And I had to like cut the roots off the top. So, but yeah, this was a similar vibe here. This thing just wanted to go. Okay, so we're just about done. I think we're all right. Kind of cut all those stragglers off. And go ahead and move this. We're gonna clean this little area off before we work. I put the tree back sitting in the pot because it's balanced enough to where I'm not concerned about it. I usually save a lot of my old soil, but this is pretty much just roots, so I'm not going to save this. But you can see, this is how much we took off from that little tiny root ball. Like, that's a lot. These roots were just winding around and super compact. If you're wondering where I got this thing, this is from Target, and it's like it's for your boots when it's muddy. I forgot what it's called, but it's like you put something like this in your mud room. You live like in a snowy area or rainy area, and I knew that I would put my boots on it when it was rainy and cold, but I also knew I would be repotting trees with this thing. Gonna get our tie down wire ready. Get our soil ready. Dang, I'm running out of soil. This may be my last repot before I gotta get more soil. I'm having to step over my dog. I don't know if y'all can see him. He's just chilling right there. Okay. Get my wire. So it's time to prepare the pot. I'm gonna set the tree right here. Nice. This root ball is so solid that the tree just chills, which is really nice. All right, now let's think one more time about the front of the pot. Okay, so it's not this. It could be this. It's really nice. Or it could be this. It's really cool too. Oh wait, tree goes this way. Wait, which way is the tree? Yeah, the tree goes this way. Okay, so I'm looking at it from the angle that I want to see it at. I want to pick the front of the pot, the front with like the most interesting design on it. Kind of set it there and take a peek. Just kind of see how I like it. The pot is a little ovalish. Dang, that front is really cool too. I just gotta pick one, man. I really liked how it was, but it's so similar that I don't even remember, and I don't want to stop the video to look at old pictures. But I don't know. Sorry, it's gonna take a second, y'all. Maybe I'll get a little bit more red in it. Yeah, because this flower's kind of like, it gets red and yellow flowers on it. So I want to pick this front that has a little bit more red on it. So I'm going to remember that the front is right between these two holes and it's opposite the chop on the back. So this was from JohnnyClayWorks. I really bummed that he has passed away. I have a couple of his other pots that I put my cactus or succulents in, and just a really talented person who graced the world with his art while he was here. Okay, you can go inside. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and prep the pot with wire. I got 2.5 millimeter wire, and I'm gonna get 2 strands of it, about the same length. Let's put that in there. Let's just put that there. Fortunately, this tree is nice and light, and it's falling over like that doesn't really do much. And it's so vigorous that it's gonna be fine. Even if you broke something off, it'll come back. I mean, I don't want to break something off, but you know. Okay. There we go. So for now, to be safe, just gonna put this tree into this pot right here on the floor. There we go. All right, here we go. I got my tie down wires. Oh, you know what? Actually, let me put in my, put in this guy first, the drainage screen. Okay, so I'm putting my drainage screen. So the way you want to do that is you just fold it over this way, you make this, and because you folded it that way, on the other side you want to fold it the other way, and it makes this cool little, it's like a little fancy H in a way. And then you just bend that, and you bend that. I think I probably could have used a thicker gauge on this, but I used some leftover wire. You stick it in there, do that, and then just bend these guys over, and now you've got your drainage screen, and that prevents the soil from coming out the bottom of the pot. All right. Now for these guys, you want to get it about even, and then people like to bend these wires up. Sometimes they bend it with like some pliers or something like that. I just usually use my fingers. So that's on that side. And the reason you want to bend it is because bending it will take out the length out of either side of these, the slack out of either side of these. So if you bend it like that, there we go. And then feed them through. And because I bent them, you can see it takes the slack out of each of the side right there. So that way you can have some nice tight tie down wire once you put it in. Do this, do this. Okay, so it's almost time for the tree to go in. But let me get it. Yeah, running out of stuff here. Running out of soil here. I just got these scoops that have a screen on the bottom so any dust can come out, but I find that when you dump it, like dust will still get in your thing. So I put just like a single layer down on the bottom. Usually you'd want to do a little bit bigger layer there for like a drainage layer. This is a smaller tree in a smaller pot, so, and I don't have sifted different sizes at this point, so whatever, it'll be fine. Okay, now I just want to see where this tree is going to go. I think my best bet is to take this wire up through the root ball here This might be really hard to get in there though, unless I punch a hole in there first. I'm gonna get my metal chopstick and see if I can just kind of punch a hole through here. There we go. See, the only thing though is I don't want to have the wire over this root right here. So, you know, I want it to be hidden. So I'll have to do it low enough to where I can bury some of this. You know what I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna do it back. No, I'll just, yeah, I'll take this through. I think what I can do is just kind of tuck the wire in on the side over there. Okay, so there's that side, and then for this side, why don't we do back here? Right there. Okay, so hopefully this works out. Okay. I'm gonna punch right through. There we go. So because this is such a tight root ball, you can come in and do this like this. There it is. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let me get this one. Ooh, that like fit right through. That was pretty amazing. I don't know if y'all can see this on video, but this is very satisfying. Okay, put that there for a second. Let me get this one through one more time. See where it came out. Okay, of course the last one's going to be the most difficult. Can't see where I put it in. There it is. All right, so before I do this, I want to put a little dome of soil that's going to go right up into the base of this root ball. So, or not a dome, but a cone. There we go. All right, so let me pull this through. If I had two people here, this would be like way easier right now. All right, so I need to make sure I'm setting this the right direction. And I'm just gonna back and forth this tree right on the area where, okay. Now I need to make sure this tree is in the right spot. So I think that's looking pretty good. So I need to make sure it's like going this way and this way, like the right direction that I want to, and also this way and this way. But what's good about this tree, it was already in a pot like this. It was already in this pot. So, you know, I kind of already knew where the bottom was. Let's see. Sometimes what I like to do is set it where it goes on the bench. See what it looks like. All right. So what do y'all think? I'm gonna bring it a little bit more toward us. Like that. Make sure it's 100%. This is like, you just gotta get it just right. That's looking pretty darn good. I'm very happy with how that turned out. So, what I'm going to do is put the wire on the side here. I don't think this wire is going to be as hidden as I wanted it to be. It kind of sucks, but oh well. What's good about this species is it'll, what am I saying? Oh, it'll grow so fast that it'll lock itself into this pot, and I could even cut this wire off at some point. Not like now, but. Okay, so when you do this, you want to pull up on the wire, give it a couple good twists until it locks in. You don't want to cut the roots with the pot or with the wire, but you just want to make sure it's snug. So I got this big old root right here, so I'm only just putting it gently on top of that root because that root is a feature. Okay, but what I'm going to do is cut close to the end of this thing. You only need one turn. Wow. Dang, that's looking really good. I think. A little more back and forth real quick. There we go. I'm kicking it over just a little bit that way. That's where it wants to be. And now I'm gonna fill it with the rest of the soil here. You can see this thing, it like lets the dust come. Oh, I don't have my tool, come on, what am I thinking? Lets the dust come out a little bit, but as you're dumping it, the dust actually like kind of comes out into the thing anyway. I'm just putting enough on the top. And what I'm going to do is just kind of crunch it. Not crunch it, but gently guide it into the side holes here. Side holes? Into the void in the side of the pot is what I'm trying to say. Typically you'd use a wooden chopstick because it grabs a little bit better, but I don't know where I set mine. So I'm using my little metal one. But it's fine. Some people may get mad at me for using a metal chopstick, but it's okay. So I'm using this chopstick. I'm covering a part of it with my hand, so you can probably see on that camera there. I'm covering this, preventing the soil from falling out, being wasted. But I'm just getting the soil into the voids there. Now I do have a root that goes almost all the way up to the edge of this pot on this side right here. So it's a little hard to get some soil in there, so I'm gonna try to get some smaller soil. Into that side. Go. Oh, this tree's gonna be so happy. Where's my wooden chopstick? I really do want to use it. It's a little bit better. This. Oh, it's on the ground. That's why. Okay. There we go. There it is. Yeah, it just grips the soil better. And it's a little softer, so it's not damaging any roots. But this is a pretty easy repot. Because the tree already has decided it's happy and living in this pot here. And it was just about giving it a little bit more space to breathe. I can't wait till this thing flowers in the summer. I mean, it could be flowering now, but it has multiple blooms throughout the year, but typically, yeah, summer-ish. I don't see any buds on it just yet, but I think it was just struggling to kind of breathe inside this pot. I mean, it would have been totally fine, because again, it's super resilient, but I think it did need some room to breathe in here. Okay. Let me just get some of this soil so I don't waste it. Put it on the sides. Yeah, really easy repot. So I'm doing this until I can, fill any voids or soft spots in here, but it's really solid all on the side of this pot. This tree fit right in there. It's right at home. It's looking pretty damn good. Darn good. Can I say damn? I don't know. A little bit more. All right, now we're gonna go water it. You know what I just noticed? Here's something that's a little mistake. The tie-down wires got pushed over here. Like on this side, it got pushed, so there's a little bit of slack in here. So I'm actually gonna pull a little tighter. There we go. I don't know if you can see what I meant there, but the tie-down wire had slack underneath because of how I pushed it in. Like, cause I kind of, how it pushed into the base of that root ball like that. It kind of pushed some of it out, so I didn't pay attention. But it'll be okay. All right. So I usually put the tree there for when I water. Let's take this with us. Watch. So I want to make sure I thoroughly water the entire tree. This watering is really important because I need to get the entire base of the tree wet, or the entire root ball. So usually I'd use a hose, but I didn't want to pull it out right now. So I'm just using this watering can. Fill that up a little more. So yeah, you don't want to leave anything dry on the base of this root ball right now. I'm just watering and then letting it soak in for a second, then coming back. Probably could have worked this root ball a little bit more, but I think it's fine. Some of the soil came out, fell out of this void right here. Just kind of pushing it back in. Gently. A little bit more. And I want the soil that comes out of the bottom of this pot, or the water that comes out of the bottom of this pot, to be clear. So it's running clear, which is good. Because there's usually a little bit of dust that occurs when you're repotting. So I'm going to get rid of that dust out the bottom of the pot because it can start to clog up those holes in the bottom. There we go. So pretty good. Alright, take it back over here. Let's put it there so it can drip. So there's a couple little pieces of soil up here that are kind of, oops, let me get the other. That. It's pretty good. Oh wait. There we go. Now there's some loose pieces of soil up here that are kind of coming off. I'm just going to kind of place them all where I want them to go, like so. I'm going to push these, the tie-down wire, I'm going to push it down so these little nubs aren't sticking up so much. Probably should have done this before all that, but it's fine. I'm eventually going to cut this one off right here. This tree is so stable in this pot, I actually think that just this one is just fine. But for the beginning of it, I'm going to keep this in here, but yeah, I will cut this one off because this one is easily hidden. This one is very visible, and I don't really want that. Okay, now the final step in this is putting shredded sphagnum moss on top of the soil. So I use, it's upside down, but it's long fibered, I think it's New Zealand sphagnum moss, I can't remember. Is it New Zealand? I thought it was, whatever. It's just long fibered Musco sphagnum. I don't know if that's what type of, actually, no, Musco sphagnum means moss. I was just reading the, maybe the Spanish translation there. What if I started telling everybody this is Musco sphagnum moss? Somebody that spoke Spanish would be like, that just means moss, bro. Okay. So I'm just kind of shredding it. Sometimes you know, a lot of people prep their sphagnum moss before doing this. You can shred it on a, oh, now it always gets windy when I'm doing this, every time. So to keep it on, I'm just gonna go ahead and get it a little bit wet so it doesn't fly away. And that'll help it adhere to the pot. What's good about sphagnum moss is a couple things. So, you know, you have these like surface roots on the top of the pot. I don't know if you can see them. But the sphagnum moss, because there's no soil on top of these surface roots, it will cover them and protect them and promote growth on those surface roots. So, you know, your tree can grow, you know, not just on the parts that are in the pot, but, you know, on top of the pot too. What it also does is it regulates water loss. So it prevents water from evaporating out of the top of the pot. The tricky part is when you're repotting, you know, you have the root ball, but then you have the soil that's kind of like out away from the root ball, and typically that'll dry out faster than the parts that are closest to the root ball. So if you, sorry, I hear kids outside. So by putting the sphagnum moss on top, it prevents kind of that soil that has nothing in it, and then the soil that's right next to the pot. Like, so those root tips will sometimes grow out into that soil that has nothing in it, and it'll get drier faster, and it can kill those root tips. So having sphagnum moss on the top regulates all that water loss for the entire pot. I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, but anyhow. What it also does is it tells you when it's time to rewater. So sphagnum moss that has dried off is, again, kind of this like whitish color, like this, but it turns more yellowy when it's wet. So sometimes it can be hard to tell like if your tree's drying out, especially when you first repot it. But by having sphagnum moss on the top of it, once it starts to turn white, you know, oh, okay, it's time to water again. And each tree is different. So I've repotted a bunch of trees this season, and some will dry out really quickly, whereas others, they're not moving water very fast, and they won't dry out quick. So I don't want to water them on the same schedule. I want to water them based on their needs. So that sphagnum moss is going to tell me how quickly it's drying out. So we are almost done. Looks like I missed the spot right here where I can't see. The next phase for this tree is going to be putting it in the shade for about a week. So I put it still outdoors in the shadiest spot in my garden. And you know, maybe a little bit of sun will hit it, but it's kind of mainly indirect. And that allows the tree to rest and recover, because you don't want it to start to photosynthesize right after you repot. I don't know the whole, you know, science behind it, but you really want it to rest and not to start pull resources. So it's almost like, you know, like let's say you go to the gym and you work out, you need to recover after you tear those muscle fibers. Maybe it's a similar process, but you know, if you put your tree back out in the full sun, you can actually, some species, it's really not good for them. It can really harm them and maybe shock them and kill them if you put them in too hot of a sun right after a repot. So that's why you put it in the shade for about a week, and then you can gradually put it into full sun over time. So because my garden this time of year doesn't get tons of full sun, you know, I put it out for a week and then I put it on the bench where it usually sits, and that's totally fine. If you live in a really, really warm area, what you might do is put it in a shady area and then start to gradually reintroduce it to full sun by putting it out in the morning each day. And then once you see that it starts to have new growth, you know, things are looking good, then you can put it back in that full sun. It is looking good, y'all. Both sides of this tree look really awesome, but the front to me is this. I think I got it right. Sometimes I repot a tree and I'm like, man, I missed the angle totally. So every once in a while I'll come back in and redo it, you know, if it's really bothering me, because otherwise I got to sit with it for like 3 years. So because I'm doing a video, it's, you know, I'm multitasking, so I may have made a mistake. I may have done it at the wrong angle, so there's a chance I may change the angle a little bit, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. I really like it. If anything, I might have kicked it a little bit forward, but I think it's good. Okay. All right, y'all. So we have now repotted this little lantana today from my mom's garden. It was on the verge of death, and I brought it back to become a beautiful bonsai tree that I really love. It's one of my favorite trees in the garden, and I'm really grateful to have it. So I appreciate you all joining me on this journey. Now it's time for you to go try your own, but don't forget to water.